Back in the 1980s, school cafeteria lunches felt completely ordinary. You grabbed a tray, moved through the lunch line, and ate whatever happened to be on the menu. Nobody thought much about the food. But looking back now, some of those cafeteria meals seem almost impossible to explain. From glowing desserts to mystery lunches covered in gravy and cheese, these foods became unforgettable parts of growing up. So today, we're counting down 10 more school cafeteria foods from the 1980s that many Gen X kids still remember decades later.
Number 10. Lime green Jell-O cups. Few things stood out on a cafeteria tray quite like a cup of bright lime green Jell-O. Everything else on the tray tended to be shades of brown, beige, or gray. Then there was the Jell-O, glowing under cafeteria lights like it had come from another planet. The little cups sat in neat rows inside refrigerated coolers, waiting for students to grab them on the way through the line. The moment one landed on your tray, lunch instantly looked better, at least visually. The texture sparked endless debate. Some kids loved it. Others couldn't understand why anyone would voluntarily eat something that shook more than it stayed still. There was always somebody who spent several minutes tapping the side of the cup just to watch the entire thing wobble. And somehow, that never got old. Every jiggle seemed fascinating, especially when you were 10 years old. Occasionally, a cafeteria worker would serve a batch containing pieces of canned fruit trapped inside the gelatin. Finding one felt like discovering buried treasure. The flavor itself was incredibly sweet. Whether it tasted anything like actual lime was a question nobody bothered asking. What mattered was that it was dessert, and dessert always mattered. Even now, one glimpse of that unmistakable neon green color can instantly bring back memories of crowded lunch tables, loud conversations, and the excitement of escaping class for 30 minutes. Of course, one cafeteria dessert managed to earn an even bigger reputation.
Number 9. Frozen peanut butter bars. Certain cafeteria foods became so popular that students talked about them before lunch even started. Frozen peanut butter bars definitely belonged in that category. The rumor usually spread fast. They've got peanut butter bars today. Suddenly, the lunch menu became the most important topic in school. These rectangular treats somehow combined peanut butter, chocolate, sugar, and graham cracker crumbs into something that felt far more special than typical cafeteria food. The bars were cold enough to hold together, soft enough to bite through, and rich enough that a single piece felt like a reward. Crumbs ended up everywhere, on trays, on shirts, on cafeteria tables. Nobody seemed to care. Many students ate them first, not last. There was no guarantee something better wouldn't happen later, but there was absolutely a guarantee somebody might ask for a trade. And trades happened constantly. Extra chips, a cookie, half a sandwich, everything became negotiable when frozen peanut butter bars appeared. For a few minutes, lunch felt less like a meal and more like a marketplace. Years later, many Gen X adults still bring these bars up whenever cafeteria food becomes a topic of conversation. That's usually the sign of a true cafeteria legend. Then again, desserts weren't the only food students looked forward to. Number 8. Greasy cafeteria cheeseburgers. Not every cheeseburger came from a fast food restaurant. For plenty of students, the most familiar cheeseburger arrived wrapped in cafeteria paper, waiting beneath heat lamps, looking slightly suspicious and somehow completely irresistible. The first thing you noticed was usually the grease. By the time the wrapper opened, a translucent stain had often appeared on the paper. The bun felt soft. The cheese seemed permanently attached to the meat, and the burger itself existed in a strange state where it was somehow hot and lukewarm at the same time. Nobody expected gourmet quality. That wasn't the point. The appeal was familiarity. Compared to mystery casseroles and unidentified cafeteria creations, a cheeseburger felt predictable, safe, reliable. Students loaded them with ketchup, added mustard whenever it was available, and compared sizes as though they were professional food critics. Some burgers looked enormous. Others seemed to shrink mysteriously between the kitchen and the serving line. Still, Cheeseburger Day remained one of the most dependable crowd pleasers in school. Not because they were perfect, because they were recognizable. And sometimes that's exactly what kids wanted. One weekly lunch tradition, however, generated much stronger opinions.
Number 7. Fish sticks every Friday. Before students even saw fish sticks, they usually smelled them. The aroma drifted through hallways, into classrooms, around corners. By lunchtime, most students already knew what was waiting. Friday and fish sticks seemed permanently connected in many school cafeterias. The routine became so predictable that students could often guess the menu without looking. Reactions varied dramatically. Some kids loved Fish Stick Day. Others considered it a personal challenge to avoid fish sticks altogether. The crispy coating usually looked promising. The inside could be a completely different story. A lot depended on timing. Fresh fish sticks could actually be pretty good. Fish sticks that had spent extra time beneath heat lamps were another experience entirely. Ketchup became a popular solution, and there was always one student attempting to trade away every fish stick before taking a single bite. Whether students loved them or hated them, fish sticks became one of those foods woven into school life. Even decades later, that familiar smell can trigger memories of Fridays, weekend anticipation, and the final lunch period before freedom. Then there were the cafeteria memories that weren't really meals at all.
Number 6. Chocolate milk in tiny cartons. Some of the strongest lunchroom memories came in liquid form. Those little cartons of chocolate milk were practically cafeteria royalty. Rows of them sat inside coolers every day, cold, condensed, and somehow more exciting than regular milk. Many students grabbed one automatically, no decision required. The carton landed on the tray and became part of the lunch ritual. Some kids drank theirs immediately, others saved it until the end. A few couldn't even wait until they reached their table before pushing the straw through the top. And then there were the brave souls who shook the carton first. Sometimes that decision worked out. Sometimes it created a chocolate explosion that everyone nearby remembered. The cartons developed lives of their own after the milk disappeared. Students folded them, flattened them, stacked them, turned them into strange little lunchroom art projects. The milk itself tasted colder somehow, sweeter somehow. Maybe it was the cafeteria environment. Maybe it was the excitement of sitting with friends. Or maybe certain memories simply become larger as the years pass. Whatever the reason, those tiny cartons remain one of the most recognizable symbols of the Gen X school experience. And the final 5 foods are where things start getting really memorable. And before we get to the final 5 cafeteria foods, if these lunches are bringing back memories, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more forgotten Gen X memories every week. And I'd love to hear your cafeteria stories too. What was the best, weirdest, or most unforgettable lunch your school ever served? Maybe it was square pizza, sloppy joes, mystery meat, or something kids today would never believe. Drop your memory in the comments below. Now, let's get back in line and continue the countdown. Number 5. Tater tot casserole. Few cafeteria foods captured the phrase "made for hundreds of students" quite like tater tot casserole. Everything about it felt massive. Huge metal pans, huge serving spoons, huge portions. The sight alone was memorable. Rows of golden tater tots stretched across the top like a perfectly organized potato army. From a distance, it looked incredible. Then came the first scoop, and that's where the mystery began. No 2 servings ever seemed exactly alike. One scoop might contain plenty of meat. The next might contain ingredients students couldn't quite identify. Every serving felt like opening a surprise package. The smell reached classrooms before lunch. Students often knew what was coming long before they entered the cafeteria, and nearly everyone remembers taking a bite too quickly. The surface looked harmless. The center often felt like molten lava. Burning the roof of your mouth became part of the experience. Some students genuinely loved it. Others approached every serving with cautious suspicion. Either way, tater tot casserole earned a permanent place in school lunch history. The next item, meanwhile, created a completely different challenge.
Number 4. Sloppy Joes. Some foods tested your appetite. Sloppy Joes tested your coordination. The battles started with the first bite, and things usually deteriorated from there. Seasoned meat piled onto a soft hamburger bun sounded simple enough. Keeping everything inside that bun was another matter entirely. One bite sent meat sliding onto the tray. The next scattered it across the table. A few bites later, gravity had completely taken control of the situation. Students developed strategies. Some leaned over their trays, some used forks, others simply accepted defeat. By the end of lunch, evidence of Sloppy Joe Day could often be found on shirts, sleeves, desks, and occasionally faces. Despite the mess, students kept looking forward to it, because underneath the chaos was a lunch that actually tasted pretty good. Warm, savory, filling, and surprisingly satisfying. Messy foods often become memorable foods. Few cafeteria lunches proved that better than Sloppy Joes. But one side dish appeared so often, it practically became part of every meal. Number 3. Instant mashed potatoes with gravy. Some cafeteria foods became so common, they almost blended into the background. Mashed potatoes with gravy were one of them. No matter what the main dish happened to be, there was always a reasonable chance mashed potatoes would appear beside it. Fish sticks, meatloaf, Salisbury steak, mystery meat. Mashed potatoes worked with everything. Then came the gravy, a thick brown blanket poured across the top until half the tray seemed to disappear beneath it. The texture became legendary, smooth, dense, and occasionally sturdy enough to hold its shape long after landing on the tray. Students reacted differently. Some mixed everything together immediately. Others kept food separated with almost scientific precision. A few spent the entire lunch period pushing potatoes around while debating whether to eat them. Because they appeared so frequently, mashed potatoes became part of the cafeteria landscape. Predictable, comforting, familiar, and surprisingly unforgettable. Still, nothing generated more lunchroom speculation than our runner-up.
Number 2. Mystery meat, Salisbury steak. Every school seemed to have one food surrounded by rumors. For many cafeterias, that food was Salisbury steak. The moment those oval-shaped patties landed on trays, conversations started. Students examined them carefully, sometimes suspiciously, always curiously. Covered in gravy and sitting beside mashed potatoes, Salisbury steak looked serious, almost official, like a meal designed by committee. The real mystery wasn't how it tasted. The real mystery was what exactly it contained. That question fueled endless discussions. Every school had experts, students who claimed they knew the truth, students who knew somebody whose cousin knew somebody in the cafeteria kitchen. None of the stories ever matched. That only made them more entertaining. The nickname mystery meat became part of cafeteria culture itself. People joked about it constantly, at lunch tables, in hallways, on the bus ride home. Yet despite the jokes and skepticism, Salisbury steak remained a lunchroom fixture for years, which says something remarkable, because even mystery meat couldn't compete with the undisputed champion of school cafeteria food. Number 1. Rectangular pizza slices. Nothing changed the mood of a school day faster than pizza day. The excitement started long before lunch. The smell drifted through the hallways, conversations shifted toward the cafeteria, and paying attention in class suddenly became a lot harder. Rectangular cafeteria pizza wasn't just another lunch item, it was the lunch everyone hoped for. The slices arrived from giant baking trays and landed on millions of lunch trays across America. The crust was thick, the sauce was sweet, the cheese barely resembled anything from a real pizza restaurant, and none of that mattered. Students loved it anyway. Corner pieces disappeared first. Some kids folded their slices in half, others peeled off the cheese before touching the crust, and there was always somebody trying to trade for an extra piece. By the end of lunch, grease had usually soaked through the cardboard underneath. Oddly enough, that only seemed to make it better. For countless Gen X kids, Pizza Day became the standard against which every other cafeteria lunch was judged. The meal everyone remembered. The meal everyone looked forward to. And looking back now, it's hard to believe an entire generation grew up eating lime green Jell-O, fish sticks, mystery meat, greasy cheeseburgers, and rectangular cafeteria pizza without thinking twice about it. But back then, none of it felt unusual. It wasn't nostalgic yet. It wasn't a memory yet. It was simply another school day, another lunch period, another tray moving down the cafeteria line. And at the time, it was just lunch.